Hello and very warm good evening, Subhrangshu da, and I'm very happy to have you here, and so is my entire team of Let's Be Frank and Team Urban Youth and People Assam. On their behalf and on from my side, I would like to thank you a lot for agreeing to be a part of the third episode of Let's Be Frank. And that is because we know what the times are right now, what the current situation is, and in such a situation that you have agreed to give us your time and share with us some insights and some anecdotes and carry forward this discussion in the healthiest way possible. My team and I can't thank you enough. And it is again an honor to have you here, and I hope that we'll have a wonderful discussion ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting a non-entity like me to this esteemed conversation with you and your team. You've been doing a fabulous job. I have seen your updates and your work, and I'm really happy to see that an organization like yours has flourished in the Northeast and also in the pan-Indian context, which has worked so extensively in the space. And I think that whosoever is watching this video, and of course you, are safe and sound. And we are going through, I think, one of the most troublesome or the most important events of our lives, because the ones before us, 2-3 generations and including us, haven't seen anything like this before. Although it seemed trivial at one point of time, today it appears that it's one of the most fundamentally altering events of world.
Not talking about anything technical or anything that we talked about discussing today on this episode. For our viewers, they would want to know you more. They would want to, set an icebreaker with you. So, tell us how's everything going. I mean, it's a very broad question to ask, and it's a very what can I say, an ambiguous question to ask. But then again, how's everything going in the current situation during the pandemic, during the lockdown? How have you been? And you currently study in JNU, so did you have to travel in between the lockdown and somehow face some problems during that, or were you already here before the lockdown was announced? And how have you settled during these times during the lockdown, because this is something very new, this is something that we have not experienced. So tell us about all that. Tell us about what's the scene right now with you, and then we'll move ahead from there.
So I was in Delhi in March, and after respective universities, including DU, JNU, all that closed, I came back to Assam. There was not much problem back then because this quarantine strict rules and all that were not applying. We came back home and everything was sorted. But then things started unfolding, lockdown, and we know what happened after that. So I think currently the situation is a bit green because we have seen the rising cases in Guwahati, also in the Northeast. And in the pan-Indian context, it is said that Delhi and Mumbai has already might have picked, but I'm still a bit cautious about already calling it a shot because we don't know. We don't know about the virus. We should be humble. So that is it. And I hope India will overcome it over time, although it's tough. And as far as I'm concerned, I've been busy in these assignments and this, that what happens in a student's life. So all that stuff, writing and attending webinars, I think that is one of the most important things of today's times, which has impacted our lives. So yeah, normal stuff. Whatever everyone else is doing, I'm also doing the same. Nothing else different.
That's very interesting to know how have you have been passing your time and indulging yourself in different things so as to not get monotonous with your life, which the lockdown has the potential to impose on you, the sense of monotonous tendencies in your life when you have nothing to do but stay inside your house, stay confined. That's for your own safety, but again, that takes a mental toll. But then moving on from there, and before going to talking about certain other things, you as a person were born and brought up in Assam. You studied in Assam Jatiya Vidyalaya, moved on to Army Public School, then moved on to DU, and then currently your academic profile rests in JNU. So that all that journey is quite long, and between the, as we say, reading between the lines, there are many innumerable things that you have done and achieved as an individual, and that's commendable. So but the question here becomes that for someone in Assam to go and settle in a place like Delhi, in the national capital, where everything is much different, the culture is different, the people are different, and it's difficult for many people, and especially given this certain northeastern attitude, that they have this typical attitude towards northeastern. Did you sometimes, or is there any instance where you had to face such discrimination or such problems due to being a northeasterner, as many northeasterners currently face in Delhi? And that's a very sad thing, but they do, and we need to talk about it. And hence, I ask you, did you face any kind of difficulties adjusting, or did your regional identity play any part in you facing difficulties settling down in the new city, in the national capital? Take us through that journey if you can, and it'll be very insightful for us.
I think you're being too gracious, and in your praise or whatever you have said. I think I haven't done much as of yet, and there's a lot more to do. And there are other people also who have done great stuff before me or will do after me, and hopefully you all too. And as you have asked my journey, I'll just briefly tell, because it's not good to talk about oneself, but still I'll try to link it to the issue you have mentioned. So I studied in an Assamese medium school for 12 years, and I learned English in 2006. I started learning English. We had spoken English classes. So while switching it to Army Public School, which was an English medium school, that was the kind of challenge for me initially, because I thought that maybe I would not be able to cope up and all that stuff. But then I learned that it was not that problematic, bearing 2-3 days, because I learned the ropes and did many stuff there, because including grammatics, speaking, debating, this, that. So I learned that it's not that of a difficult transition if you are well versed with your education, your English and everything. So that was not that of a problem. And then from Army School, I had a great exposure there, because I shifted from SEBA to CBSE, Assamese medium to English medium. So I got to a different milieu where you had this MUNs and this, that, all your CBSE people. And these are two different worlds you need to understand. Ahom Jatiya Vidyalaya, Cotton College, Bibor is a different world. And Maria Public School, Army School, Gurukul, that's a different milieu. So it was a jump from one world to the other. And I was fortunate that I got to learn best of both the worlds, because Army School is a fabulous school in the English medium sphere. And we know about Ahom Jatiya Vidyalaya. It always produces laurels in the HSLC examination. So that was a good transition. And from Army School, what I wanted to do was, everyone in arts wants to go to Delhi. So I had these options: Stephens, Hindu, Ramjas. I wanted to take admission in Stephens, but I missed it for 2 marks. But there's one point, I love political science more than history. So I was glad that I got into Hindu, because political science is one of the subjects closest to me. So this is where the Northeast factor comes in, because I think the students of Assam, I think more by and large, don't face that of a problem in terms of racism, barring a few. But from other states of Northeast, we have this great problem, because when they go to Delhi, they face this problem, racism. There's a problem of assimilation. If you talk to North Indians, they will say that no, because I have stayed. My first roommate was from Rajasthan, Jaipur. He was a science guy. So he said, "Arey, ये नॉर्थ ईस्ट के लोग घुलते मिलते ही नहीं है, बात ही नहीं करते, अपने बीच में रहते हैं." And when you talk to our people from Manipur, Mizoram, Assam, so they will say, "अरे नहीं, they have this problem that they call us with the term that I won't like to name, and other such racial slurs." So I see different types of views existing, more by and large. Of course, there are people who are in both the sides. They can mix well, gel well. But there's this divide that exists, and that manifests in the greater, broader sense also. Because when we have leaders from the Northeast, they don't get adequate representation. When we have singers from Northeast, they don't get adequate representation in the national sphere. So this is a common problem. So whatever is there in the national sphere, whatever is there in the political sphere of India, in the cultural sphere of India, whatever happened with Bhupen Hazarika, whatever happened with Lung Mazao, whatever happened with the politicians from Assam, Gopinath Bordoloi in Delhi, same things happen with the students from Northeast who go to Delhi. So that is one part. And the other part is that, of course, I have to say that we somewhere lack that, I wouldn't like to blame, but of course we need to make an effort to, I think, make that bridge on our part. And that's why I think we did certain stuff in our college days, which would be important. Because when I went to Delhi, I had nothing to do, because that's a different world. If you want to make your name there, I don't claim that I had made a name, but if you want to make a name there in the Delhi sphere, you need to carry some big father's name or some achievement or something like that, or some connection to somebody. So I didn't have anything of that. Yeah. So what I had as opposed to that, because I knew certain people who were popular in the Delhi sphere. And those were Shashi Tharoor, those were Rajdeep Sardesai, that may be somebody from some leader from Northeast. How I knew? Because I used to communicate with them from my school days only. I used to send them text messages, my articles and all that. Shashi Tharoor shared my article in when I was in class 12, the last months, I think April, May. So I'm a great fan of his work. And also I'm bipartisan. It's not limited to him, Congress or BJP. I like many leaders from BJP also. I've spoken to Subramaniam Swamy and like that. So it's nothing like that. But I knew those people. So I established my contacts. I went there. I did some programs, events. I organized, I invited Dr. Shashi Tharoor to Hindu, Rajdeep Sardesai to Hindu. And we organized the Northeast Conclave. I think me, Riddhi Mohanta and some others from the Northeast organized an Act East summit where we invited Pema Khandu, Pradut Bora, Yale World Fellow, Gaurav Gogoi invited but he couldn't come, and then Pradut Manikwa Burma, we invited them to our college and organized that summit. So we made those efforts to bridge that gap so that people of North India gets to know about Northeast, our culture beyond whatever is mainstream, like Bihu, Gamusa, all that we know. But these issues, Act East, our resources, our strength, those needs to be reflected. Arnab Goswami is not just Northeast. Okay, I respect him. Papuan is not Northeast. We have more than that. So we need to showcase that. Culture is not only Northeast. We have some other stuff also. So when we organize this summit, Orunodoi, first Northeast Students and Youth Summit, there we brought in all these elements. We were supported by Assam government, Honorable MP Kamakhya Prasad Tasa. We brought out a book, a bipartisan book. All kinds of people, Jairam Ramesh, Tharoor sir, Himanta Biswa Sharma, everyone wrote articles there. CM was present, PK Singh was present. We discussed Look East. We discussed GM Master Seed. We discussed climate change impact in Northeast. We discussed, security dimensions in Northeast. So that was a great, I think, great highlight of our time, because we were able to organize that and bridge that gap certain somehow. But then, of course, there are different societies in the Northeast societies and different colleges of DU. They also do similar stuff. So we did that, and then eventually, I think that is one part that I would like to mention. And of course, in my own career also, I learned that I like political science more, so I switched to JNU, and that's a different field. JNU, we have a different kind of a milieu there, so that's a different kind of sphere. And in Hindu, I got these opportunities to work in foreign policy forums and media organizations, and there are many kind of stuff. I'd not like to talk about that, but there are too many. So that gave me an exposure to learn about different points of views, to be exposed to this daily milieu, to be exposed to the national milieu, international. In fact, in my second year of JNU, I had a chance to go to Israel. It was a small group, 20-30 people across the world who were there. I was the youngest, to talk about deterrence in South Asia, how we can learn from Israel to protect ourselves from Pakistan, how to build a better deterrence against Pakistan or China. Those issues were discussed. That was right after Pulwama, so it was really exciting for me. So I think if people from Northeast try to take part in the national, international arenas, and if they go out and play the role, of course there are problems, there are substantial problems. I understand that. I understand my privilege. But if we try, maybe we can break the chain. We can raise our voice in the right forums. Because when I was in Israel, everyone was talking about Pakistan. I was the only one. I mean, I can say this in public, although it was a off-the-record program, that I said that I talked about a threat from China. No one was talking about that, although different people were there. Because I faced it in my backdrop. My paternal family is from Tejpur, so I know what the China threat is. Of course, others also know, but that perspective you need to bring in, right? So if you are from Northeast, if you participate in those kind of forums, if you go out and be a part of that, where others are in, if some Malho tribe, some Roy is there, a Sangma, a Hajorika also needs to be there. That's my basic point. That's my basic philosophy. Is we need to go out, we need to be a part of that, and we need to raise our voice at the right forums. That's how we can make the change. And of course, they have to do their amends also regarding racial slurs and all. But on our part, we can do these positive steps.
As I said, all that you have shared with us, all those anecdotes and all your experiences, quite insightful for us and quite encouraging and enriching for us who have traveled to a new city, or for those who will certainly travel to Delhi or any other city for their higher studies. And you have given them, you have told them basically to have an attitude towards, have a positive approach towards everything for a better adaptability to your surroundings. And that's very gratuitous of you to tell us about these things that we should know, and that we should imbibe in ourselves to have a better understanding of our surroundings and better adaptability in the new, if we are in a new place. But then again, Subrata, what I would want to ask you, or what I would now want to move on to, is something very intrinsic and something very important, an issue that occurred back in 2019, in the last part of 2019, and Assam, the northeast, was in rumbles, and it erupted. Basically, people compared it to the scenes or the scenario of the Assam agitation that started in '79, and it wouldn't be wrong to say that they were partly right in saying, because the rage and the enigma, the intensity in those protests, in those rallies, was as equal as it was during the Assam agitation. Although I've not seen it, but the stories I've heard, I believe, are matching and similar to what people are asserting right now. However, before moving on to that question, we being from Northeast, we have Northeast is culturally diverse. It's hugely diverse in culture, and however, a cherry on that is that we have a sense of respect for the diversity, and that somehow isn't true or hasn't been true for the other mainland regions of India, and that's something very sad, but that's again something that is very true. And so, in that sense, do you feel that a certain Citizenship Amendment Act is problematic, or what is your personal outlook on the entire Citizenship Amendment Act? If you had to talk as yourself, what would be your personal take on it? And you have been to various news forums debating about the same, and we would be very delighted if you tell us your thoughts, your views on the Citizenship Amendment Act.
I think it is one of the most complex issues which have come up in the last 20-30 years, because after Assam movement, I think for the audience who are not from Assam, you know that Assam movement, Assam agitation was one of the largest student agitations against quote unquote foreigners that happened in South Asia, and it changed the entire dynamics. Before that, Assam never featured in the history books or the political science books, and we came to the history books with Assam movement. And after that, I think 1985 we signed the Assam Accord, and then this is 2008-19 that CAA happened, and it started way back around 2014-15. So I need to, if you give me some time, 5 minutes, I'd like to take you to the historical prognosis, because we need to understand this. You know, it's not a black and white. Yeah, it's not a black and white issue, and I don't claim to know it perfectly. It's just my personal view, and usually I don't take a stand on these issues because my view is very nuanced. I would like to take. But then in this particular issue, I was invited to Republic all of a sudden. I came back from Guwahati on 8th. On 9th, the situation became grim on 8th from 9th in Guwahati. And we were invited to Republics all of a sudden. I was just sleeping in my BG, and then a call came that aa jao aise aise. So I was straight in front of Arnab one night, and then he said, "Bolo aap ye wo." So there I had to take a stand. And then on again 11th, Guwahati was burning, and I was right there in Republic on that night when CA was passed in Rajya Sabha. So those are two very important moments of my life, I think, because I had to take a stand. Because I can't say that this is also good, that is also good. That's something I can't do. And then I was invited to NewsX and Northeast now, and there also I took some nuanced stand. But in these two programs, I had to take a stand. So what I think is, see, migration is a reality of life. We can't deny that. And anyone who has come to this land of India has assimilated or whatever. They have stayed and they have become Indian. Some feel that they been neglected. Some feel that no, due to this coming of the outsiders, we feel neglected, we feel exploited. So there are different sort of views. One view is that no, we should accept it. The other view is no, it shouldn't be there. We should eject these foreigners, quote unquote. And both views are valid. I wouldn't say this is bad or that is bad, because human rights is human rights. Human rights of a so-called East Bengali migrant is as valuable as the human rights of a Bodo, human rights of a Kosari person, human rights of a Subhrangshu Pratim Sarmah. It's all equal. Of course, there are differences due to socioeconomic status, but it has to be put on an equal status. Now, regarding CA, you need to understand that during partition, a large-scale violence happened. People had to leave their homes, Hindus, Muslims alike, but mostly who had come from Bangladesh, they were Hindus. Then again in 1971, due to the crisis with East Pakistan, several Hindu people also had to migrate. If you read Lajja by Taslima Nasrin, she has written very lucidly and very poignantly how people have faced their worst human crisis of their times. So we can't really shut our eyes to the problems of the people who have faced this human crisis, be it in Pakistan, be it in any religion. I'm not going to the government's brief. I'm just talking my personal view. So we can't really neglect that. So in the 1950, if you check the 1950 Foreigners Act and all that, so there was a provision to protect these people from expulsion, but only in Assam. It didn't extend to the other parts of India. But when it came to I think Assam IMDT Accord, it became nullified. And because IMDT in itself nullified the Foreigners Act, so this clause also went away. But when Horbanga Khunwal played the case, it again came back because that IMDT was scrapped. So again the Foreigners Act came in. So this particular clause, which protected the Hindu Bengalis, was still there. Many people don't know that. But anyway, that's a different matter. When BJP came in, they had this agenda because they believed that, as per their ideological belief, that Hindus need to be protected in the land of India, in the land of Bharat, as they call, where else Hindus will go. That was the argument. So they placed a cutoff, 2014, and whosoever had come will get citizenship till then, Hindus. But there's a problem that emerged in this time because Assam said that irrespective of Hindus and Muslims, everyone had to be, sent back after 1971, 25 March, if I'm not wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. So, but this is where the main trouble began in Assam because the Assamese nationalism, or I would say Assamese identity, is not religion-based per se. It is ethnic. The divide is ethnic. The divide is not religious so far. I hope so. It remains so. So that's where the problem emerged. The project of BJP and project of the Assam movement, or the greater Assamese identity. Of course, there are nuances. I understand some people will support the lower Assam, there will be some support, and upper Assam, the protest will be more. That the difference is there, but irrespective of that, of course, and along with that, the NRC conundrum was also going on. So it's a very vexed issue. See, in NRC, we wanted to throw out all the immigrants, and through CAA, we want to bring back. I mean, not bring back, but we want to keep some. So, and again, it became another complexity. For NRC, Congress delayed it, then it started 2006, and then due to Supreme Court's intervention, it happened. There were many discrepancies when it came out, because the number was low, and many people got their names into illegally, and many legit indigenous people's names also were thrown out. So now, Hindu Bengali, many people name were cut in NRC. Through CAA, so via CAA, there is an attempt to give them give the citizenship back. But I'm not really sure whether that was the initial attempt, because it came up in 2016. I remember discussing it with MPs at that point of time. So I was really anguished. How can this happen? This is really unjust. So my MPs, I spoke to Dasara in 2016 January. So he said, no new people are coming. It's just historical justice that is being done. But somewhere I felt that no, it just didn't gel well with my Assamese toes, because I couldn't just accept something nullifying Assam Accord. But then Assam Accord was nullified in the different constitutional amendments acts before it. Assam Accord was nullified when many people got their voter cards, and many people are not detected so far. NRC has been sabotaged. So Assam Accord has gone through a lot, not just CAA. So that's where the problem emerged. And then the popular protests began in Assam because people of Assam couldn't accept it, that such citizenship will be given. But pan India, it was very different. Pan India, NRC and CAA were mixed. People were opposing both CAA and NRC, and they felt that NRC is an instrument to disenfranchise Muslims. Where in Assam the view was something else. Assam said that we need NRC, but we don't need CAA. So how you explain this to the pan-Indian audience? Because they will say, both sides. The pro-government side will say, Hindus nahi to kahan jayenge, Muslim, Bangladeshis ko phagao. And the other side, no, everyone should be here. And then for CAA argument, they will say, aise kaise kar sakte hain, this is against secularism. So you see in both the camps, the Assamese voice has no room. I neither can fit here nor can fit there. So where do I place my argument? So that was the main problem I faced during CAA. When I was arguing it, because at one hand people will call you, if you say that you are for NRC, people will say, ye to majoritarian agenda ho gaya. And on the other hand, if you say that you oppose CAA, the pro-government side, aisa kaise ho sakta hai? Aap logo ko Hindu ko support karna chahiye. Inka ye problems hai.
So the difference was opaque.
Yeah, difference was...
between the two was opaque for the pan-Indian audience.
Yes, and that's what I think we should try and raise. But then act is already passed; it's in the Supreme Court, so I'd not like to comment. Let's see what Supreme Court does. We have faith in the court. I mean, I'd not like to pass comments on the merit of the act. Of course, it has merits, demerits I have explained. So, but I personally feel that this Assamese argument has been marginalized in the larger sphere, and attempts should be made to make people more sanitized about this issue, that it's not that simple. There are some people who are suffering, there are some people on the other side who are also suffering, there are some people in Boroland who are also suffering. So there are different victims, there are different victors, vanquished, and you can't just say that this is black and white, this is right and this is wrong. You need to understand the nuances, and your decision should be based on that. Government should listen to different views. The leaders, the stakeholders, the people and students should listen to different sorts of views, that look, this is what it is. And I think a process of consultative discussion, a process of talk can solve it. In Assam, I'm saying. In Pan-India, I don't know, because it's a very different matter, because there it will lead to a political sort of a slugfest. So I don't know how it will be settled. But in Assam, I think a level of dialogue, a level of discussion, a level of talking with different stakeholders can sort out this issue. Because I don't feel that nobody, be it any human being, should be traumatized. At the same time, the basic frame of our constitution should be intact. The basic forms of our civilization should be intact. And all those can be achieved if it comes to a process of consultative dialogue. And I I can just hope that it will happen one day. Yeah.
To pick up a very an intrinsic part there, or a part where I believe there lies gray areas in enormous numbers, is the part that we are looking at CAA only in terms of Assam. But if we talk about CAA, we need to also identify and consider its pan-India impact that it will have in terms of economics, in terms of demographics, in terms of geography, because we are talking about giving citizenship to those who have been deprived of it or did not receive it till now, and migrated from the three countries that are mentioned for eligibility of Indian citizenship, that is Afghanistan, Bangladesh, and Pakistan, and the religions that are mentioned vis-a-vis those countries. So when we talk about this, do we need to consider, or should we consider, the economic impacts that it will have, and that India already has a rampant growing rate of poverty and unemployment, and above that, if we include these illegal immigrants into our as citizens of this country, then these citizens will also be accessible to those resources, accessible to all government schemes, and the burden on the government will somehow increase. So do you connect to that outlook per se on a personal level, or your outlook is completely different and you see CA as something that only affects Assam and not as a pan-India phenomena that will have a pan-India effect per se?
Yeah, you have raised a very important question. So for that, first let us first understand this. Are new people coming or not? If you look at the bill, it's not clear. Because how do I identify Hindus? How do I identify Muslims? How the cutoff will be identified? How the legal structure, how the administrative structure of this act will be determined? I don't know. We still don't know. That structure is not out. So is it the fault of the government, or I don't know whosoever are the other authorities, bureaucrats or people, that this issue hasn't been sorted out? We still don't know whether new people are coming. If you look at the exact word of the act, it says that after 2014 nobody will come. So whosoever is already there, and mostly from years, that they will remain. But if you look at the nitty-gritties, if you look at the language of the act, it's not still clear whether new people can come in, or there's a scope to amend the bill further and then again extend the cutoff to 2024 or whatever, or 20, and at a later date, 2030, suppose they amend it to 2020. Suppose you understand, right? So that particular nitty-gritty is there. So I'm not sure whether new people will be coming or not. So if I come to the economic argument is valid, very much valid. It is valid from the moment this immigration sort of stuff happened in 1971. Be it Assam or other states of India, it is always valid. The immigration which is not legal has taken up our resources, have taken up our stuff from years. It's not just about CA. When the Bangladeshi so-called Bangladeshi immigration happened and has been happening, irrespective of whatever people keep the numbers, it has always threatened the economic security of the people of India and other parts of India also. So it's not just that it has become because of CA. Now whether it will happen because of CA, if new people come in, then definitely it will become a burden. If new people don't come in, then also you have some certain issues, because if some person gets citizenship, what kind of land rights they will get, what kind of economic benefits that will get, that's a complicated issue. Not in other states maybe because of Assam, because Assam has already already existing issue, so that it might create problem. But for all India perspective, it has always remained, if somebody is a Bangladeshi, he's a Bangladeshi. irrespective of Hindu or Muslim, irrespective of Ka or Bangladeshi immigration. So the immigration has happened for years and population explosion has happened, then that's also an economic problem as much as a prospective problem if new people come in through CAA. So I think your argument is very much valid, but I don't know whether through CAA, via CAA, new people are coming or not, because it's not clear. Yeah, I think just to interrupt you, I said it in those times only. In Republic also, I said that government needs to talk to the people, and people need to be made aware of the complexities of this act. If it's genuine, I mean, if there's no foul play, there should be no problem in making people aware. Because if people are made aware, कि देखो इतना है, ये लोग हैं, ये है, then there's no issue. But there's a problem of communication. Government is not saying, people are also agitating, so there's no proper lineup that's matching in one point where we can say that, okay, this is the thing. Government is bringing new people, so okay, we'll protest. Government is not bringing people, so we'll protest on different things. So it's not clear, as you said, it's opaque. I hope the Supreme Court will decide something on this matter, but if it remains like that, then it becomes problematic, because we can't really say whether it is this or that. So yeah, that is it.
There's another intriguing question to this part here, and that is that, when we talk about the role of political parties or political persons in this entire issue of CAA, people like Himanta Biswa Sarmah, people like Sarbananda Sonal, these people were involved before being involved in CAA in the Assam agitation and fought for the indigenous identity of the Assamese, the indigenous identity of their land, and fought a long battle with the then government, and were successful, if I can say, in getting the Assam Accord to see the light of day. But then again, is it that the political pressure that they have from their central leadership sitting in Delhi, that they can't necessarily talk against CAA? Because many people in Assam are saying that it will thwart the indigenous identity of the Assamese and that of Assam, and is dangerous for a state like Assam and for Northeast as a whole, or for India as a whole. So in that way, have Himanta Biswa Sarmah, Sarbananda Sonowal, or those people who were involved in the Assam agitation lost their way somehow and have given up or given in to political pressures that they are facing due to their alliances or due to their party membership? So what's your outlook on that?
Okay, so regarding your question, there are 2 points of views, and I'd like to explain both very briefly. A, whatever you said, that leaders of the Assam agitations, who are now the current rulers of Assam, be it the CM, be it the health minister, be it the agriculture minister, be it the flood minister, be it the transport minister, all are from the same their birthplace is same. It's Assam agitation, from where they have come, and most leaders of Assam will trace their lineage to Assam agitation and Assam Accord. So there's a perception in Assam and in some parts, as you said, of India, that the leaders of Assam agitation have moved from the core idea of Assam agitations to a more Hindutva based ideal, where the concerns of the ruling party or their organs are more important than the core cause of Assam agitations. That is one part of the argument. The other part of the argument is that, and I can speak, I don't know what the leaders are thinking, but what I get sense of the term, as far as Dr. Himanta Biswa Sarmah is concerned, he has been, so there are two, because I'm writing a research paper. I think it will be the first research paper on his leadership style that I'll be writing for Guwahati University. I'm currently doing that. So in 1985, he took a stand against the 1971 cutoff of Assam Accord. It's on record. He didn't mention it during the Congress time, which is another interesting thing that much, but it is there. That in 1985, their ASU unit of Guwahati ASU unit took a stand against the 1971 cutoff because they believe that it's a betrayal of the spirit of Assam agitations due to the political reasons, and it should be 1951 because they believe that in 1951 more people will be covered. 1971 is a travesty of the whole movement. And again, in 2011, if you notice his interviews, that's the time when he was in Congress and Congress was fighting the third election, he had categorically said that the people of Barak Valley, the Hindu Bengalis, need to get the citizenship. And we have been trying, in his words, we've been trying to do that. Torun Gogoi has been trying. And later on he says that no, Torun Gogoi moved back from that promise. This is what he says. So regarding, of course, he kind of manages to play his political sentences in different ways in different periods of time. But his stance has been from 2011 that Hindu Bengali people need to get citizenship. Of course, we can question his words more aggressive tonality after coming to BJP regarding this issue. But his stand has not been from 2016 when he joined BJP. It has been there from 2011 because he believes, because he has many people from his own constituency and also in Barak Valley also that who feel that this issue needs to be redressed because it's a problem of partition which has been going on until 1971, which needs to be settled once and for all. And that's a political promise which Congress should have made, he said, and now BJP is doing. And also he says that after doing this, Assam will be able to secure its future for eternity, because if we don't give citizenship to the this sort of Hindu Bengalis who would be left out from NRC, the illegal immigrant Muslim community would be more electorally prominent in some districts of Assam, and that will change the political dynamics of Assam for good. So in a way, he's trying to put the ethnic argument in the Hindutva argument and make his main point that, look, I'm protecting the interests of Assam, the main ethnic argument against the outsiders in Assam, by bringing this bill. So it's a very interesting turn of point. Is there a difference? Is there a problem? Yes, in popular perception, if I look at from an Assamese perspective, if I look at from an Assam agitation perspective, yes, I'll feel that, what are these guys doing? They have come to power and now they are talking about this regularizing these foreigners. But then if you look at from their perspective, of course, they have a political reason for this. And of course, they have a what to say, if they have a factual, at least Himanta Biswa Sarma has a factual whole argument based on this. Whether I agree or not, that's a different thing, but these are the two important variants. Now, I think people of Assam will decide in which side they belong. And for that, they need to be aware of all the complexities. Being ignorant of it or being knowing about only one side or the other side, only one TV channel or other TV channel won't help. If they know the whole picture, I think they'll be able to decide. I think I'll leave it to their wisdom, whichever side they pick. And I think that would be, I think people's voice matters. And of course, post facto, we can analyze whether they were right or wrong. And that depends on personal views. Of course, I might feel that no, this is wrong. And also I might feel that, okay, this also is a point. So yeah, these are the 2 points of views I think I have noticed regarding your particular question.
Now, moving on from CAA and coming to another issue that is very important, and that is the issue of Dehing Patkai and the environmental threats that loom over it due to illegal coal mining and due to other practices of deforestation and practices that are against environment sustainability. And we have seen that this has become a certain kind of practice pan-India, but in Assam especially, we talk about Dipor Bill in very high terms as a spot that we can go with our friends and have and enjoy the scenic beauty. But what we don't realize that Dipor Bill is actually a Ramsar site, which has been identified under the Ramsar Convention that took place in Iran in 1972. And that Ramsar site today has been converted into nothing more than a dump yard due to, and it has lost all its USPs in terms of the migratory birds that used to come, the flora and fauna that it used to possess. All of that has been lost to the processes or to the hands of industrialization. And when I did my research paper on it, we could see the evident reasons where the electrical wires that run the railway line that runs right adjacent, almost adjacent with Dipor Bill, and the big bridge that has been constructed into the river, and there are all other kinds of pollution activities that take place there. But another thing that was interesting and that can be accounted for the degradation of Dipor Bill is the water hyacinth infestation, and that was a very important aspect of Dipor Bill and the degradation that took place in it. And connecting it to Dehing Patkai, we are seeing something similar happen with our environmental ecosystems with the promises of environmental sustainability, and we somehow miss or somehow see that that our government is being ignorant or is being hesitant towards raising its voice against it, and is playing it conservatively rather than radically defending its own state laurels or state accolades. That if I can call Dehing Patkai as one, because it's a rainforest that survives while many have perished. And yes, and okay, so another question that I would add to this and link to it would be that of Assam floods. Now, Assam flood is something that thwarts this region every year, and somehow the people have, and that's very sad, have adapted to it and have accepted that every year the flood will come and we will have to deal with it, and nothing can be done. And that is something because if we see, so, our chief minister is from a place where floods are an imminent problem, a problem that persists almost for the most part of the year. So in that way, do you feel that it is somehow wrong, or it is somehow unjust or unjustified that our CM or the government has not been able to do anything in regards to that each year, and the floods have thwarted and destroyed lives every year from the time that this government came into place? We're not going back to all the other governments, but because we need to talk about floods and not the political angle of it. So, what is your take on both these issues? Give us an insight and take us through whatever you feel and what your line of thought is regarding these two issues.
Regarding the Dihing Patka issue, I think I don't have anything to add, because I think whatever is there you have already mentioned, and I believe the government should be considerate of the demands that have been made, the popular demands, because see, at the end of the day, and it has been a proposition that has been forwarded by many people, including Ranjit Bhattakur and all popular industrialists. He said that we need to focus on green economy and all that. So I think Assam in itself, I think the recent debate regarding ordinances, if you have noticed, the MSME ordinance also kind of relates to this, because and I think it's nothing to laugh, because the life and livelihood would be, and there's a huge debate surrounding it, big Dihing Patkai, be it the ordinance. So the key issue in the later it would be about the local versus the others, and the environmental impact, and also in Dihing Patkai it will be the environmental impact. So I think our focus should be on sustainable development. The SDGs had clearly outlined in 2015 that we need to focus on these aspects. The success of India, which is the 1.3 billion to increase more, will depend the success of these green technologies, these climate saving technologies, the future of these climate saving technologies in the world. Whatever India does will happen across the world, because that will have a ripple impact. So I think the Assam government is a part of that structure. It can't get away with that. So I think government needs to respond with these diverse demands. If they have in different view, they can present, but at the end of the day, people's voice and the genuine points of contention or suggestion matter more than any kind of political slugfest like Congress did, BJP did. I know regarding the Dihing Patka issue, there's a allegation against the previous Congress government of giving out mines, and then Congress says no, BJP is doing away with everything. So I think we should not resort to politicking in these kind of issues. If somebody has done something bad, exactly. So if somebody else has done it in the past, we don't know that we have to do it again. So I think if both are guilty, both are guilty. So whatever is the truth, if the truth is that it is going to grievously impact the ecology or environment or everything of the particular area that has been mentioned, I think that should be resisted, and government should come out with a proper plan to, of course, we need the resources, because India would be dependent on coal for quite some time. We can't switch to green technology immediately, but that should be at the cost of the natural resources, the habitat, because we have seen in Corona, because if we challenge the nature, what happens? So we should be considerate of that, and sustainable development should be the way forward. And I think Assam doesn't fall beyond that. Assam is a part of that. So I think the idea of sustainable development, the idea of consultative process should be the way forward, and government should engage it with in due process regarding Dihing Patka, regarding ordinance and development, which is one of the most important thing to take India to the 10% GDP growth. As I always say, our best foreign policy is 10% GDP growth. I think somebody said it recently, I don't know, but that's the best idea. So we think focus on development, also protecting our environment. Both should be there. Now regarding floods, look, so, and of course another issue you mentioned about the resource extraction. It has been the debate has been there since 1971. And any marginalized area, any sort of periphery feels that our resources have been taken out. And at the same time, that's and the other side, and India being a union of states, there's always this debate about centers share and states share. So this debate will persist. We need to address it. I think and that's a leadership problem. I think somewhere our leaders need to raise it more vehemently somewhere. And all the leaders in Delhi, whether they understand or not, we have to make them understand. And it's not always about politics. I mean, I think I get really frustrated when it's talked that so and so did so and so. No. If this is the problem, we have to address it. If there's a genuine grievance, we have to tackle it head on, and our leaders need to present it from different states of Northeast. That look, there's a issue of this resource crunch. I mean, resource exploitation, as you would say. And of course, there's a different argument that we have been greater share. But then at the end of the day, people's voice matters, people's voice matters. So I think we need to be considerate of that, and a reflective equilibrium needs to be sought in this issue based on the need for natural resources from across the country, its equitable distribution, no need addressing the regional disparity context, and also this particular grievance of regions in the periphery. So that's a part of broader debate as well as Northeast. It has continued for a long time, and it will continue for quite some time until we take it head on and address the key areas of it. And I think the civil society, you guys, us, need to keep raising these demands, and not from a problem perspective. I also have this problem. We always raise the problem, but we don't say the solution. So if so and so isn't happening, we need to think about the alternative ways also. That's what sustainable development is. So I think we need to suggest solutions also sometimes, and I think that helps a lot. Now regarding floods. So regarding the flood issue, if you see that it started around, I think if I'm not wrong, 1950, when the earthquake happened in Assam, the great earthquake. After that, the riverbed went up, and then this thing happened. And because if you notice, Chandubi, that was a hill, and that came down, became a lake or something. So that's sort of the impact of earthquake was, and the riverbeds became up, and then such from some so and so, these things are happening, and also other
Territorial shift.
yeah, exactly, tectonic shift, and then man-made factors are also responsible for that because we have been destroying nature and all that. So that also adds to that. And along with that, this natural thing. So many people say, I'm not sure. There's this paper that was included in my book, in our Orunda Northeast Conclave that we prepared. It was an article by Dr. Nayan Sharma of IIT Roorkee. He had presented some, I can recall it right now, but he had presented some arguments, and more or less many people agree that somewhere that we can't really solve the problem of flood in Assam. It will persist. It will come because it started from a natural phenomena, and we can't really, do away with the flood thing. From the existing technologies that we are pursuing, right? So they have suggested some. I think we to solve it, this consultative process, bringing these experts who have been talking about this since ages, like 10 years, 20 years after studying. And there's a lot of technology happening right now, across the world, AI, this, that, disaster management, so many things happening. So if a government wants, if we pressurize enough, the government, see, that's the problem in Assam or in India. We don't talk about, these issues are not, hot enough. These are not sexy enough. People don't talk. Talking about flood is not that great. If you talk about some political issue, it becomes very great. But if we had been, of course, people die. Every year flood happens. Every year we cry. I wrote an article in your age. Dr. Tharoor also shared it. That why no one talks about northeastern flood. I wrote a long article. It published in Daily and Citizen and all that. So there's the same argument that nobody talks. What all you said. But why was there not a concerted attempt by the government to bring these different scholars to the table? I think Harbander Homal made an attempt regarding that, or as per Mr. Modi's suggestion that this should happen. Something like that happened, and then I don't know what's the product of that. So why can't we bring all these people together, churn out something? You can have scholars from different parts of, experts from different parts of the world. We are already paying taxes, we are already paying money, so why not for this? So we can bring, you don't need to bring nowadays. You can use video conferencing, you can use mail and bring out solution. So bring these different minds together, engineers, policymakers, bureaucrats, contractors, students, and churn out solutions and start implementing them. We don't implement. As you said, the governments don't implement. And I think, I feel bad when I see the images of somebody suffering in Dhemaji. I feel bad when I see they are already there in the TVs. Like, see Corona and flood happening together. What kind of a travesty it can be. And it's not just now. You can read the literature of years. You can read the literature, books, novels of Assam, and there's always this theme of flood persisting from writers from Dhemaji, from writers from Dibrugarh. They'll always write about this. From 1950, it is happening, and there's no solution. Why? So, are we not voting in terms of government's work towards flood, or is it like flood comes and goes, it helps in agriculture, it takes away some from us, it gives some, so maybe we have become accustomed to it? Is it that the government see that it's not a boat-wielding purpose, Congress, BJP, whatever? So what is the main problem? So we need to identify it and then start solving it. Merely throwing money won't help. Merely making embankment don't help. There's a study which says that making embankments create more problem. And there's always this debate about embankments going to certain contractors, this, that. It happened during Congress time. I don't know what's happening now. But it isn't happening. And I think same government remains same. So same things will be happening now also. But the problem is that these structural issues, unless we address them, the issue of solution, the issue of people's, I think early warning system could be a great way. If nowadays IMD is doing great work because we know when the floods are coming, like you can take the example of Orissa, how the cyclone was tackled with due coordination between center and state, Navin Patnaik and the Narendra Modi-led government, and it became a great talking point for the UN also. So I think those kind of approaches, if we can give early signals, if we can prepare all those structures beforehand where people can be shifted, so that their life and livelihood is not impacted. That can be an immediate way, so that we can save at least people's lives and their books and money and all that. So that arrangement can be made, because if we can't solve flood right now, that saving people can be a way out, and government's effort should be directed towards it. Like you can see always those images of rhinos dying in floods, and then you can have some images about they are being saved in some upper platforms. So those kind of solutions need to be devised in the short term. In the long term, I feel that we need to pressurize, we need to talk, we need to raise our voice with the central and state government, and not just in term, kind of in a confrontational way, or in a passive way, no, in a middle way, where we can pinpoint that, look, these are the solutions, and we need to hold the representatives accountable. Whosoever is our MP, Gaurav Gogoi, Kamakata, anybody it can be. We need to hold them accountable that, look, these are our problems and these need to be solved, and only then you can get elected. So if we do that, then they can raise it in parliament, and then so and so in the government, and that all these forces need to come together. So sort of a, what movement you saw for car? Why not a movement for floods? Why not a movement for solving the poor entrepreneurial condition of Assam? Why not a movement for solving the basic problems of Assam? And also, why not a genuine intent on the part of the government to solve this? That's why we need leadership. So I think all these factors need to come together, and expertise, intent, solution-seeking mind, and also doing away with all these politicking and corruption, at least, because ultimately it's about people's life. We should be careful. So so I think that's one way to deal with this.
Thank you so much, Subrata. All that we have talked about was very insightful and very, very enriching for me, especially, and I believe for everyone who's listening to this. And I cannot thank you enough for again because I've been saying this since the start. But you deserve it, and I cannot take this thing away from you. And that I am very thankful that you agreed to be a part of the third episode of Let's Be Frank.